Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video, we have yet another new Scrypt ASIC. This is coming from VolcMiner. We're going to talk about the VolcMiner D1 PRO. So this is the next in line of the D1. This is a pretty good upgrade. It is going to keep in line with the latest and greatest other Scrypt ASIC that was announced. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about the specs and we'll give our overall thoughts on this thing. Okay. If that sounds good, guys, stay tuned. Let's get right to this thing. So let's just get right to the specs. This guy was announced at BTC 2025 and let's look at it. Okay, so two modes: normal power mode, 18 gigahash, 3500 watts, 194 joules to gigahash, so 0.194 joules to megahash. Okay, so immediately already that puts it in line with the next gen AlphaPex unit with that DG2, DG2 Plus. It is going to be in line with that, as that one is 0.19 also. The kind of standout here though, which is kind of interesting, and I'm definitely liking this, is that low power mode going down to 9 gigahash, which is a pretty steep cut, but again, only 1,360 watts. And the efficiency difference is the kicker. It goes down to 151 joules a gigahash, so 0.15 joules to megahash, which at that point is a pretty significant increase in efficiency, right? We've seen low power modes on different things. Typically, it's anywhere from like 8 to 10%, sometimes less than that. Sometimes it's just a less wattage kind of thing. In this case, it's over a 20% increase in efficiency. Okay, so when we see things like that, those are things we like to see, just because at some point, whether it's the end of this year or beginning of 2026, there's likely to be a bear market at some point, and these are the types of things that help us sustain and continue to stack through that bear market when we see efficiency gains like this. Okay. So will we see more efficient miners in the normal power mode? Probably, right? To when, we don't know. It was definitely anticipated that bitmain could announce something at WDMS regarding their Scrypt ASICs. They actually didn't. Will it come in the coming months? Hard to really say, right? But in my opinion, it's been very weird this whole time that, again, these kind of no-name smaller manufacturers have been able to outperform the L9, right? So we'll see when it comes out. We'll see if it's something just like an L9 Pro where it just puts it on par with these things, or if it's an L11 and ends up being quite a significant upgrade, and who knows when, right? We're saying these things theoretically, but we don't know when it's going to come, and that's kind of the hard part with purchasing any ASICs at all, right? Just because there's always that threat of the bigger, better miner, and specifically the more efficient miner, which as we go into the bear market potentially, again, if there is one, efficiency is king, as we've seen, right? So when we see modes like this, it is pretty intriguing. Let's look at what other official specs they gave us, and essentially that's it. They did put out this little press release thing. The big standout was just that low power mode and it breaking down to 151 joules a gigahash, right? Because then at that point in this mode, it does make it the most efficient Scrypt ASIC, although it's not necessarily misleading. It's just in low power mode, right? But even realistically in full power mode, it's on par with the DG2. So realistically, this guy is the most efficient ASIC. Okay. The only other bit of news they gave us here is release window, and it's just Q3, right? And that's kind of what it seems like. The AlphaPex unit is going to be Q3, Q4, so probably going to release about the same time. Chances are this guy may actually drop sooner than that, or at least in comparison, comparing it to the AlphaPex unit. So it does seem like August. Some of the vendors, which we'll show here in a second, do have it listed as an August batch. Now, let's look at it as a whole, because Mining Now actually does have it listed. So we can see the profitability here. We can compare it to the DG2 Plus. Again, just about the same efficiency, 0.194 versus the 0.19, which realistically, they're probably going to be on par, right? There's always that 5 to 10% variance, just depending on the fans and it going over. So just understand that. So reality, I would consider them identical. The AlphaPex DG2 Plus, though, does have more overall hash rate, though, okay? That is definitely one thing to factor in. So as we look at the profitability, currently at a 10-cent kilowatt hour, it'd be making $19 a day in revenue. After your 840 in electric, about $10.75 in profit. And that's considering Doge's current price, which is on a little dip. Okay. In the low power mode, this is where it's a little bit interesting. 9 gigahash, 1,360 watts. So you'd be bringing about $8.37 in revenue, $3 a day in electric, which isn't bad for cents a kilowatt hour, $5 a day profit, right? Which currently right now, you're not going to be running this. Again, this is more when shit starts hitting the fan and these things potentially start going down to a break-even point. That's when the efficiency will matter. That's going to be the difference maker. Okay, so pretty convenient. I'm definitely a big fan of the versatility of these things. And that's one advantage they can definitely have over bitmain, which is a lot more restrictive with their firmware. Sometimes we do get lucky and they do release aftermarket firmware. We do see it a lot with the Bitcoin ASICs. See it a little bit with the Scrypt ASICs just because that one's a more popular one. So things like this definitely make it more appealing. Again, what's interesting though is the fact that it's such an increase in efficiency going into the low power mode, going down another 20% increase in efficiency, right? So again, not going to release until Q3. Pricing, the vendors that do have it for pre-order have it in the $8,000 range, right? Which isn't actually too far off from where the current VolcMiner D1 is currently priced at, right? So just keep in mind, if you are interested in this thing, it's not going to be till August, September, sometime around there. Again, it's not confirmed. Delays can definitely happen. Factor that in. But this does seem to be the range. Miner Bros actually has it cheaper. They have it at $78.99, although you can't order it currently, right? So expect this to potentially change once they get a more finalized price, okay? Because we typically know Miner Bros is on the higher end. Will it, won't it? We don't know. We'll keep our eyes on it for the official pricing announcement and the official release date announcement, right? Currently, they just say Q3 in the little thing here, so August can definitely make sense. Most likely, we all know how that works. Maybe shipping out end of August. Realistically, sometimes September is when people will actually be plugging these things in. Okay. So price-wise, it's not bad. I mean, again, the key thing, if we compare the current price of the D1, currently, actually, the 18.5 gigahash model is $8,500. They do have a listing for 16.2, but this is an August batch. So again, this is a pre-order. Going to come out around the same time as that thing. If it's going to be $7,200, this guy's going to be $8,000. Buy the D1 Pro. Right, it is definitely more efficient. Might as well for not that much more, right? So again, the main comparison here, number one, it's them. Number two, the AlphaBex DG2 Plus, which we still don't have official pricing on. They're still kind of beating around the bush a little bit. Like they've been debuting it. This is now the second show was at. Not a whole lot of info yet, or at least official info, right? So we're kind of still waiting there because again, chances are it still may be quite a ways away. The real competitor here is going to be the L9, right? And this is still the tried and true. Yes, it doesn't have the low power mode. Yes, both the VolcMiner D1 Pro and the AlphaBex DG2 are more efficient. It's only about 10% though, right? So it's not a game-changing difference. This is where it gets tricky, right? Again, our biggest gripe and why we would still probably realistically still choose the L9 is number one, pricing. Pricing is still in that range. Okay, it's if this guy is going to be at around $8,000, currently the L9 is around that same price and has been around this price for quite a few months now. Okay, you get a earlier head start, be able to stack more coins if we do follow this typical cycle. Okay, number two, durability. Bitmain isn't the best, right? But in comparison terms, overall, there's more repair centers, parts availability, potential repairability, right? Although AlphaPex has definitely been making strides, it does seem like they're getting their stuff together. I have had quite a few people comment that they have had issues with their DG1 Pluses. Haven't really heard anything with the DG1 Homes, but there's potential, right? And it's going to happen with every manufacturer. There's going to be duds no matter what. Certain models are definitely going to have more than others. So far, though, haven't really heard any complaints with the L9. Okay, and as we've seen with their previous gen, the L7, those things were also tanks. A ton of you guys are still running those to this day, year after year after year. Okay, so for me, the value I see in ASICs is always going to be longevity. Okay, so I'm going to go with the more tried and true, which in this case is going to be the L9. For me to go with the competitors, it needs to be a huge standout difference, whether it's a huge efficiency, which 10% in my opinion isn't, or a huge decrease in price, which when these things are about the same price, that's not the case either. Okay, so we're going to see when price gets finalized, but realistically, I would probably still go with the L9. Am I rooting for the D1 Pro and the AlphaPex units to do well? Absolutely. We need all the competition we can get. And realistically, right now is the time for these competitors to really be aggressive and potentially take some of the share from Bitmain away, right? Their Bitmain hasn't been in the hottest seat lately with a lot of reliability concerns, repair, warranty concerns, which have always kind of been a thing, but realistically, it's been more prevalent, especially this generation going on right now. Okay, not just this year, but ultimately these past couple of years, quality has definitely gone downhill, right? Especially with the altcoin ASICs, even with a lot of the Bitcoin ASICs, right? Kind of started with the S19 XP, a lot of crazy issues, a lot of issues depending on the variant of the S19K you had. A lot of the altcoin ASICs have had issues, so definitely not the best. So right now, this is the time for these manufacturers to really be aggressive and take part of that share. Like when I see them pricing it around the same price, go for it. Price aggressively. Same thing with these AlphaPex units. Price aggressively. You're going to get a lot of people converted, right? But if you're going to price it at the same price for something that's just not massively more there, it's not enticing enough for me to take that risk. Okay, so everybody's going to have their own opinion and their own things that they value the most. For me, it's longevity, right? And if I see the avenue that has more potential durability, more parts availability, more repairability, that's going to be the avenue that I go, right? Because if I'm buying a big boy ASIC, it's with the intention of being able to mine for a year and a half, maybe longer, realistically as long as possible. The longer you're able to mine with this thing, the better your overall chances are of not only making that return on the investment, but also being just profitable. Okay, because at the end of the day, that's the goal, right? Even if the specs are more efficient, they're better looking, it doesn't matter if this unit only lasts you 13 months, right? You want to get a long time out of it. That's how you make the most out of ASIC mining, is that longevity factor. If you're able to get a unit and you're able to stay profitable for years, you're making out pretty well, right? You guys with the L7s know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of these other altcoin ASICs, if your unit actually survived that long, that's kind of been an issue though, right? Previous units, well, I mean, how many of you guys still freaking have L3s going? These things are crazy old. Same with S9s. They don't really build them like that anymore, right? So it's kind of hit or miss. I can't really go full confidence either with the L9 and saying, oh yeah, it's definitely going to last 2 or 3 years. We don't kind of know that, right? Basing it off the track record of these previous 2 or 3 years, kind of a toss-up, right? But so far, though, from what we do know, the L9, it's going on, what, 8, 9 months now, and so far, it's been pretty good, right? So with that kind of track record, if I'm favoring reliability, durability, I'm going to go with the L9, right? Again, these two to me are just not priced aggressive enough, and it's not enough of a efficiency difference, right? So again, hopefully they do well. Any of you guys who have a VolcMiner, right? We do have a good amount of info with the AlphaPex unit, but any of you guys who have VolcMiners, if you guys got the D1s, the little minis, let us know how they're doing in the comments, right? We want to definitely keep track, and we are kind of rooting for them, right? We want this competition because it's going to make everybody better, okay? We'll see what happens. We'll see how Scrypt ASIC mining goes. A lot of us are definitely anticipating something else from Bitmain. It's just been kind of weird, right? Realistically, kind of talked about that in the other video. It's been extremely weird that they haven't released any other altcoin ASICs, right? A lot of them are definitely way overdue for a replacement, and it's good in a sense. It's just a little bit weird, right? It's kind of throwing us off. Like, are they kind of abandoning that a little bit? Are they waiting for the price action? It's hard to say. It seems like if this continues, we may just out of nowhere get a whole flurry of new releases, right? We're going to have to wait and see what happens here. But just understand that's always going to be a risk. And it's really the hard part, right? There's always that threat of that bigger, better ASIC. You have to look at the now. You have to look at the worst case scenario. Look at the longevity, right? And this is a big reason why we've been focusing a lot on these Scrypt ASICs, and why they're getting so popular is because it's probably one of the better avenues for that longevity, just as we've seen in this previous bear market. Okay? Let me know in the comments, guys. What do you guys think about this D1 Pro? Let me know what you guys think about that low power mode. To me, it's pretty amazing, right? For me, in the bear market, being able to put that thing down to like 1300 watts, Definitely convenient, right? Let me know in the comments though, guys. What do you guys think? Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I am out.